Hello folks, and welcome back to our beginner's guide to the butterflies of Sussex. Now in the last presentation we looked at one species, the purple emperor, and today we're going to focus on 6 species, the whites and the yellows. Now we'll start with the whites. Now the whites, there's 4 species I'll deal with today. They're all versions on a similar theme. They're all white butterflies with sort of black markings and black wingtips. They're all sort of the same size, apart from one which is bigger than the others, but it'll all make sense as we go through. Now, okay, we're going to start with an easy one. Now, every year I get asked by people, what is the name of the butterfly with the orange tips on its wings? And it's called the orange tip. It's that easy. Now, if you see a butterfly in the spring flying around with orange tips on its wings, it's an orange tip. Okay, very distinctive. Now, the females, however, on the top left up there, don't have the orange tips. Let's not worry about those because if there's a female flying around, there'll be a male chasing straight behind her. So a white butterfly with orange tips is the orange tip. Now, both the sexes, though, have this incredible marbled green underside to the wings you can see there. So if it lands, if you get up close, you'll see this lovely black and yellow mottling on the underside of the wings. So this lovely photo by Bob here captures all the features of a lovely male orange tip. Absolutely stunning. Look, the lovely orange tips to the wings and that beautiful mottled pattern on the underside of the wing there. Now, orange tips are a butterfly of the springtime, and for me, it's the first sign of spring. When I see one of these little beauties flying along the hedgerow, that means spring has started. You'll see them at the end of March, April, May and June, but you won't see them at other times of the year. So, okay, that's the easy one. Butterfly, white butterfly, orange tips to its wings in the spring. It's an orange tip. Okay, so we'll move on to the more difficult whites. Now, the other 3 whites I'll be talking about today are often lumped together under the name cabbage white. There's no such butterfly as a cabbage white, but it's a group of 3 butterflies, which you'll see flying all around your garden and the countryside. Now, people get a bit worried about them because, first off, they're quite hard to identify. Now, I'm just sat here and I can see through my window into the garden, and there is a white butterfly flying around. Now, I don't know what it is. It's too far away. So you need to get quite close to help identify them. Of course, the other thing people get a bit overexcited about is that 2 of the species will lay their eggs on cabbages in people's gardens, and the caterpillars will eat the cabbages. People always complain to me, like I'm some sort of ambassador for the butterfly world. They always complain to me that the cabbage whites have been eating their cabbages. Now, those people who are complaining are forgetting one very important thing. I don't like cabbages. In fact, I hate cabbages. I'd much rather see butterflies eating cabbages than eat them myself. In fact, the more butterflies and more caterpillars eating cabbages I see, the less cabbages there are for me to eat. And that's fantastic. I hate cabbages. Everyone hates cabbages. No one eats cabbages anymore. Oh, apart from this guy, Jeremy Clarkson. Look at him, he loves cabbages. Now, I don't like cabbages, and I don't like Jeremy Clarkson. So if you are the sort of person who likes Jeremy Clarkson and likes cabbages, you're watching the wrong video. Go elsewhere on YouTube. There's other videos all about cabbages and no doubt all about Jeremy Clarkson. But you're in the wrong place. So we're going to move on. Okay, the first cabbage white we'll deal with is the small white. Now, the small white is a butterfly found most of the year, from April to October. It's a white butterfly with black markings. But have a look at the underside of the wings. Now, if you get close enough to a small white, and to be honest, they very rarely land for long enough to get a good view. But if you can get a good view, we'll be looking at the underside of the wings. Very important for identification. Now, the small white is a pale yellow underside with no real markings on it at all. Now, also have a look at the black tips to the wings. They're kind of not very dark black. They're more of a sort of dark grey. And also, if you get a photo or get close, you can have a look because now, if I can, let me just work this a minute. They're actually Let's press that. They're actually more black along here than they are down here, if you see what I mean. So there's more of a black marking which stretches along the horizontal more than the vertical. So you need to get pretty close to see that. But if you get a photo, it's a good way of telling them apart from some of the other species. And here's a photo by Bob again, just to highlight that underside of the wing, very pale, a little dusting of sort of black scales there, but otherwise no obvious markings on the small white. And here's a pair photographed by Bob, a mating pair. You can see again where's my little thing? Here we are. Look. You can see again they're more black along there than they are down there, and also they're not really that black. It's more of a sort of dark grey colour. Okay, now we're going to move on from the small white to the large white. Now, the large white is indeed a large white butterfly, so hopefully from its size you can distinguish it from the small white. But I always find that a little bit tricky, especially at a distance. And also you do get some small large whites and some large small whites. Now, they're very similar to the small white. The underside of the wing is, again, almost identical to the small white, the pale underside with no markings on it at all. But the difference for me is all about the wingtips, which are always very, very dark, really black compared to the sort of greyish wingtips of the small white. Now, you may notice I'm not mentioning the dots on the wings there, because the dots do change between sexes in the large and small white, and also between broods. It can get a bit confusing, so we're going to leave that because it's not as simple as just counting the dots. But certainly a big white butterfly with very, very dark black wingtips is going to be a large white. And here's the third white butterfly that gets lumped in under the cabbage white category. Now this one is one of my favourite butterflies. I think these are subtly beautiful. These are the green veined whites. Now the green veined white and the small white are a similar size. So if I'm sat here and I see a white butterfly flying around the garden, I don't know what it is until I get close. Now if you get close and the butterfly lands, you should hopefully be able to see that the green veined white has some markings on its wings. It's a lovely pattern. The venation on the underside of the wings has a dusting of black scales, giving it a lovely pattern there on the underside, which you can see really clearly here on Bob's gorgeous photo of two beautiful green veined whites. So get up close. If it lands, get a good look, get your binoculars out and try and see this lovely pattern on the underside of the green veined white. Okay, so really with the smaller whites, you've got to get quite close. Now, if it's a female orange tip on the left, the green veined white in the middle, or the small white, what you'll be trying to see is the underside of the wings. Now, hopefully, if you get a good view, you can tell from those patterns, the mottling of the orange tip, the streaking of the green veined white, and the pale nothingness of the small white. Hopefully, you can tell them apart. Okay, that's the whites dealt with. We're going to move on now to some more colourful butterflies, two yellow butterflies, and the first one is the brimstone. Okay, well, the brimstone is the OAP of the butterfly world. It lives for a long time. Now, it emerges from its pupation around about July, August, and then it goes and feeds and goes into hibernation. So it sleeps all through the winter in a tree somewhere, under the holly, under the ivy, and then it'll emerge again in the spring and mate and then die. So it can live all the way from July right through to March, April the following year. Admittedly, most of the time it's asleep, but it's still alive. So the brimstone is a big butterfly, a large butterfly. The males on the right-hand side there have these lovely pale yellow wings. Now, I always get told that the brimstone is the original butterfly because it was the first butterfly seen every year, and it's the butter-coloured fly that gives all the butterflies their name. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but people always tell me that, but it could be, or maybe it's not. Anyway, a lovely pale yellow butter-coloured wings on the male brimstone on the right there. On the left-hand side, the female is more of a pale green, much more, it's almost white from a distance. So not the same color as the male. Now, both of them have these lovely scalloped sort of shapes to their wings. And very importantly, there's no black markings on the wings at all. I've just put these two butterflies side by side because you could confuse the pale female brimstone with the white, large white. Now, but you can see from these photos that the butterflies have different shaped wings, but more importantly, the large white has those black markings on its wings, whereas the brimstone is totally pale. So if you see any black markings on a big butterfly going past, it's a large white. But a pale butterfly with no markings is a female brimstone. Okay, and our last butterfly for today's presentation is the clouded yellow. Now, the clouded yellow is a migrant butterfly. It comes in from the continent every year, and it's very much a different color to the brimstone. So it's very much egg yolk yellow. It has black borders on those wings and is a very active, fast flyer. So you've got two yellow butterflies to deal with: the sort of pale yellow brimstone and the brighter, more egg yolk yellow of the clouded yellow. Here's another lovely photograph by Bob to show the underside of the clouded yellow's wings. Now, you very rarely see them landing with their wings open. They keep their wings closed. And so what you'll see is the underside of the wing with a little round mark in the middle there and a nice pink border on the edge. Now, I've managed to find a photograph of a clouded yellow taken at the Wildlife Trust's Morling Down Reserve by Tom Lee. Oh, I've obscured your name, Tom. Sorry about that. So Tom's lovely photo shows a clouded yellow with its wings open. So a rare picture. And you can see, though, the black borders on the side of the wings. But you can also see, well, it's more of an orange to me than a yellow. I mean, maybe it's my eyesight going, but that looks more orange than yellow to me. Should be called a clouded orange. But so you can see a very different color to the brimstone. I put them side by side here. So the brimstone, a very pale yellow butterfly, but the more vibrant yellow-orange of the clouded yellow. I always say that you can tell them apart because the brimstone is a sort of color you could perhaps paint your bathroom that color, a kind of subtle yellow, but you'd never paint your bathroom a clouded yellow color because that'll look weird. So difference there: the very pale brimstone and the much more vibrant clouded yellow. As I mentioned, the clouded yellow is a migrant butterfly. You see them more later in the year. So what I suggest is around about September time, get yourself down to the coast and certainly along from Beachy Head over to the Wildlife Trust Reserve at Seaford Head. You could see clouded yellows in the valleys and combes. My favourite spot to see them is just standing right here, down Hope Bottom towards Hope Gap at Seaford Head. Those two banks on either side is where I see my clouded yellows every year. Okay, well, that's your whites and your yellows, and that's 6 more butterflies off our list of the butterflies of Sussex. Now, I'm aware I've left one out. The wood white is very, very rare in Sussex, but I will cover it in the last presentation in the series. So until next time, thank you for listening.